You think you're in control, but your brain's being hijacked. Every swipe, every ping, every craving, carefully designed to keep you obedient. Your phone decides when you feel bored. Algorithms decide when you feel happy. And you just follow the signal. They've rewired your brain to chase comfort and call it peace. But peace built on comfort isn't peace, it's control. Every time you choose what's easy, you hand over a little more of your freedom. That's why focus feels harder now. Your dopamine system's been trained to crave stimulation instead of satisfaction. And the more you feed it, the emptier you become. True self-improvement begins when you break that loop, when you rewire your brain to find joy not in escape, but in effort. That's what a dopamine detox really means. Not quitting pleasure, but remembering how to feel alive without it. Discipline isn't punishment, it's freedom earned through friction. It's the philosophy that Stoics lived by, and the transformation that solo-leveling psychology embodies. A shift from consuming comfort to creating strength. The world keeps trying to sedate you, but your mind was built for war. It's time to wake up. You ever notice how nothing feels exciting anymore? Your favorite song feels like background noise? Even winning just feels like Tuesday. That's not burnout, that's chemistry. We live in a world that sells happiness in bite-sized doses. Tap for joy, swipe for meaning, add to cart for inner peace. It's all so easy, and that's the problem. Your brain evolved to chase mammoths, not microwave meals. Now it gets the same dopamine hit from DoorDash. Dopamine isn't pleasure, it's anticipation. It's your brain's internal get up and do it signal. It spikes when you expect reward, not when you get it. That's why the idea of cleaning your room feels amazing. But the actual cleaning, suddenly you're on TikTok again. Dr. Anna Lemke calls this the dopamine trap. Modern life triggers the chase without the satisfaction. We've become lab rats with Wi-Fi, pressing the button just to see what happens next. In solo leveling, Jinwoo keeps entering weak raids. He's broke, bleeding, barely standing, but he can't stop. Is not courage, it's compulsion. And when he enters that dungeon filled with silent statues, he realizes all that effort wasn't growth, it was avoidance. We do the same thing, scrolling for meaning, chasing motion. It's like spending all night looking for motivation instead of doing the thing that matters. The lie isn't that you're lazy, it's that your brain's been convinced comfort equals success. Next time you reach for an easy hit, the phone, the snack, the distraction, pause. Ask, am I chasing meaning or just motion? That pause is where rewiring begins. You ever notice how the second something feels uncomfortable, your brain screams, abort mission! Cold shower, too hard, workout, tomorrow, homework? Suddenly, cleaning your room feels productive again. That's not laziness. That's your brain dodging pain like it's dodging taxes. We've been trained to treat discomfort like a malfunction. Feel anxious? Distract yourself. Feel bored? Scroll. But what if pain isn't the enemy? What if it's the most honest signal your body sends, and you've been muting it with dopamine? Neuroscience shows that pain and growth share the same neural real estate. Dr. Andrew Huberman calls it neurochemical balance. When dopamine spikes from easy rewards, your baseline mood drops. But when you endure controlled discomfort, workouts, deep work, cold exposure, you train your brain to release dopamine after effort. That's how you rewire your brain to enjoy discipline. You teach it that reward comes through effort, not instead of it. Marcus Aurelius said it best. The obstacle is the way. Pain is information. Your body's way of saying, this is where you level up. In solo leveling, Jinwoo's lying broken on the dungeon floor, bleeding, surrounded by death. He stops running, faces pain, and that's when the system appears. The reward wasn't strength, it was awakening. Your discomfort is your personal system message. When your brain resists focus or training, it's not saying stop, It's saying, this is where we build. Imagine quitting every quest because the monsters look scary. That's what most people do every Monday. Pain isn't punishment, it's proof. Every second of discomfort is your brain updating its software. Next time your body says, I can't, stay 5 seconds longer. Let your brain protest. You're in charge now. Here's the truth. You can't outdiscipline a hijacked brain. You can have the motivation of a Spartan, but if your dopamine's wired for instant gratification, you'll still fold at the first notification. That's not weakness. That's chemistry. With Wi-Fi, your brain isn't broken. It's just overstimulated. You've been feeding it fireworks, and now a candle flame feels boring. Reading, walking, silence. They all feel like doing nothing. But that's not boredom. That's withdrawal. You turned your brain into a dopamine addict, and now you're shocked it doesn't enjoy vegetables. A dopamine detox isn't quitting dopamine. Your brain literally needs it to function. It's removing the artificial fireworks so you can feel the real ones again. Dr. Kent Berridge explains that dopamine doesn't equal pleasure. It predicts it. Flood your system with easy hits, and your brain turns down sensitivity. Like lowering the volume on a song that's too loud. The detox, it turns it back up. In solo leveling, after nearly dying, Jinwoo isolates himself. No allies, no distractions, just him, monsters, and pain. He grinds, fails, adapts, and the same battles that broke him start to fuel him. That's not training, that's neural recalibration. If you live on sugar, fruit tastes bland, but quit junk food for a week and suddenly an apple tastes like candy. That's dopamine. Remove the junk and reality becomes sweet again. When you stop giving your brain cheap rewards, it starts earning them again. That's when effort starts to feel good. So pick one high dopamine habit, your biggest vice, remove it for 7 days. No replacements, no cheats. When withdrawal hits, remind yourself, this is my brain learning to feel again. Here's where it gets weird. The same brain that begged you to stay in bed can learn to crave the grind. That's not motivation. That's neuroplasticity with a six-pack. Most people think discipline means endless struggle. They imagine white-knuckling every day, suffering their way to greatness. But that's because they've never stayed consistent long enough to feel the switch flip. The moment effort starts to reward itself, it's like quitting sugar. The first few days, hell. But once you adjust, junk food tastes like regret. Push through resistance without shortcuts, no dopamine hits, no instant rewards, and your brain begins to link effort with satisfaction. Dr. Andrew Huberman calls this effort-reward coupling. The harder something is, the more your brain celebrates finishing it. Seneca wrote, "The willing are led by fate. The unwilling are dragged." Once you stop resisting discomfort, pain becomes purpose. Look at solo leveling. After Jinwoo's awakening, the same dungeons that used to terrify him now excite him. He smiles mid-fight, drenched in blood, because the struggle itself fuels him. That's not masochism, that's mastery. He's rewired his reward system. Athletes call it the runner's high. Dopamine, serotonin, endorphins. Effort becomes energy. Focus becomes fuel. You start waking up early, not because you have to, but because you can't wait to face the monster. This is the turning point, when discipline stops taking energy and starts giving it back. Pick one hard thing. Study, train, create. Forget the result. Just feel the post-effort calm. That's your brain rewarding the process. You can rewire your brain all you want, but if your environment stays the same, it'll rewire you right back. Would you like to enable notifications? Translation, would you like to surrender your free will, one ping at a time? Most people fight temptation in its home turf. Phones on the bed, snacks on the desk. Then they wonder why they lose. That's not failure, that's bad design. Your brain takes the path of least resistance. It's called decision fatigue. The more decisions you make, the weaker your willpower gets. The disciplined don't rely on willpower, they rely on design. Dr. BJ Fogg calls it environmental automation. Make the good habits easy and the bad ones hard. That's not self-control. That's self-engineering. After his awakening, Jinwoo studies the system. He builds routines, creates his own grind loop, his daily dungeon. No distractions, no wasted energy. That's mastery, turning the world itself into an ally. Think of your life like a dungeon map. If focus is the treasure and distraction the trap, you need to redesign the layout. Discipline isn't resisting the world, it's redesigning it. When your environment rewards effort, consistency becomes automatic. Audit your space. What's too easy that shouldn't be? What's too hard that should be effortless? Change one thing today. Friction is focus. There's a moment every warrior, every artist eventually hits when the thing that once drained you starts to feed you. You stop forcing the grind. You start feeling it. That's when discipline becomes its own dopamine. Most people never make it here. They live caught between craving and guilt, constantly stimulated, never satisfied. They think happiness waits on the other side of success, but real joy happens during the work. It's like waiting until you're shredded to enjoy the gym. Good luck with that. Neuroscience calls it intrinsic motivation, when your brain releases dopamine not for the outcome, but for the process itself. Dr. Richard Ryan calls it self-determination theory. When your actions align with your values, effort stops costing energy and starts creating it. That's why Marcus Aurelius could find peace even in pain. He didn't crave escape. He craved alignment. Discipline isn't about denying pleasure. It's about discovering a deeper kind of it, the kind that comes from coherence, not chaos. In solo leveling, Jinwoo stands before a dungeon boss, calm, grounded, unmoved. He's not chasing power anymore. He is power. That's the shift from survival to mastery, from stimulation to satisfaction. You felt it too, that quiet focus when you're building, training, writing. The noise fades, you're just there. That's flow, the brain's most natural state. It's the same chemistry as joy, but earned. The irony, the peace everyone's scrolling for, only shows up once you stop scrolling. When you stop chasing pleasure, dopamine becomes your ally again. When you stop demanding happiness, it starts working for you. The true reward isn't the trophy, it's control. So do one hard thing today, not for reward, but for presence. That's not grind mode, that's growth mode. They sold you comfort as freedom. But it was never freedom, it was sedation. The algorithm told you to relax. The dopamine hits told you were happy. And all the while, your hunger, your edge, quietly died. But here's the truth. The moment you choose discomfort, you start to heal. When you train your brain to crave the hard things, you take back everything they stole. You stop being a user and start being the architect. You stop scrolling through meaning and start building it. You stop letting biology run the show and start running it yourself. That's the real dopamine detox. Not the absence of pleasure, but the presence of choice. When your mind no longer runs from pain and your pleasure is earned, you don't just rewire your brain. You reclaim your humanity, because you were never meant to be comfortable. You were meant to be alive.